When was the last time you were truly in awe of something, in the presence of something so vast it was beyond even your own understanding, so vast that you couldn't help but feel small? For me, it was just a few days ago, in the earliest hours of the morning, as I stood alone in this countryside in Bali and craned my neck upwards to look at the night sky. And all I saw was this infinite black beach littered with stars. The only thought running through my mind, life is beautiful. A short trek later, 1,700 meters above sea level, as I sat on top of an apparently active volcano, I couldn't help but think back to the life I had left behind in New York City and all the little trivial frustrations and annoyances that come with that day-to-day life. And through a smile, I said to no one and everyone, nothing else matters. I didn't know this either until I looked it up, but experiencing awe has been shown to lead to decreased stress levels, increased kindness and generosity, both of which can contribute to increased life satisfaction. And the awesome part about awe and all this is that you don't need to travel across the world or summit an active volcano to gain the benefits. Instead, you can step outside and go for a hike in nature, catch the sunrise or sunset, watch the night stars from time to time. Or you can even stay inside, read a thought-provoking book, or watch some mind-blowing YouTube video. Even though awe is this apparent magical pill you can take to dramatically improve your life, many of us, myself included, live our lives seriously deficient in it, instead absorbed by ourselves and our often routine, monotonous lives, which honestly should come as no surprise, because from birth through our entire lives, we're constantly forming and reforming our sense of self, our identity, through the interactions we have with the world and those in it. We pull everything in, sort of as if we're the center of the universe and everything revolves around us, which, when you say it that way, it doesn't sound that great. It sort of sounds narcissistic or egocentric, which is why you've started to see people call this like main character energy, even as they live pretty routine, monotonous lives. And even if you don't consider yourself a traditionally routine person the way that social media portrays it these days, by default, we all follow these patterns of behavior that are defined and structured around school and work. And while these patterns of behavior do provide us this sort of familiarity and comfort, that's exactly where the issue lies. When we're so familiar and comfortable in our ways, we don't really feel or have a need to venture outside of it. And as a result, we don't really experience unfamiliarity, discomfort, and as a result, our awareness and understanding of ourselves, the world, and just how all of this fits together never really expands. When you pair an egocentric view of the world with a pretty monotonous life, it's kind of clear why people are just stressed, unhappy, and unfulfilled all the time. With nothing to focus on, or rather, nothing we want to focus on but ourselves, when anything goes wrong in life, right, with the perspective that everything revolves around us, it feels like every force in life and the universe is working against us, magnifying any sort of problems or stress we have way beyond proportion. When we live our lives solely with the intent to serve ourselves and no one else, we're basically trying to expand our own universe as opposed to understanding the one we already belong to. And when we think and act this way, we're never going to have enough, never going to be content. But if we're able to make a habit of shifting, or rather recentering our perspective, to recognize that yeah, life doesn't revolve around us, then we can free ourselves of all of this. There's this quote that stands out to me from The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. It's honestly probably the only thing I really remember from the book, but it's really stuck with me. We're all just sitting on a planet spinning around in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Another way that I've always thought about all this is that in the grand scheme of life and all that we know, we are essentially the most tiny, almost invisible grain of sand in the most, I'm at a loss for words, the most infinite, vast beach you could ever imagine. And when you put it that way, nothing that really happens in our day-to-day lives, right? That mishap at work, the person who didn't text you back for a second date, are quite insignificant. And I don't say all that to be super nihilistic, just the right amount, because ultimately a beach is defined by every single grain of sand that belongs to it. And I say all that to illustrate that there's this interconnectedness that exists between all of us in this thing we know as life that I don't believe we appreciate or recognize enough in our day-to-day lives. I definitely can't say that I do. But the beauty of recognizing and embracing our own smallness or insignificance, that the world doesn't revolve around us, is that we free ourselves of having to overly fixate on the insignificant and instead give ourselves the freedom to focus on the significant, to decide for ourselves what does truly matter to us in life. Who knows? Despite being this tiny speck of sand, the most infinite, vast beach we could ever know, maybe we can also be like the stars and shine brightly, even if for a short while, not for ourselves, but for someone else.